Give me a break. It's been a day already.
When was the last time you watched Boiler Room?
I have not watched Boiler Room.
Ever?
26
years. That movie came out in 2000. I was at an event earlier this week, and I was talking to our friends over at Channel Hunters, and they have a couple of their sales guys, and we were just talking about sales and things like that. And I was like, I told him a story about like when I was a mortgage broker, I used to watch Boiler Room every night before I went into work to like get myself motivated. And I haven't seen that movie in years. And so I came home yesterday. I got the kids to sleep relatively early, and I was like, it's 9:00. This movie's a little over 2 hours. I'm going to do it anyway. And I stayed up and I watched the movie, and it holds up. It is a good movie. If you want to know anything, if you want to know how to sell, granted, it's the precursor to the Jordan Belfort story, which is Wolf of Wall Street, right? But
Right.
There's a lot less like drugs and sex things in it. This is from like the perspective of like this one character who lives in Queens. If you want to be motivated to sell, Boiler Room, 2000. Giovanni Ribisi at his best.
How does it stand up to something like Glengarry Glen Ross then?
Oh, they reference it.
Okay.
Hardcore. But like this cast is so weirdly stacked. It's Vin Diesel before he was Vin Diesel, Scott Conn, Nicky Katt, Tom Everett Scott. Ben Affleck makes a cameo, and he's actually been interviewed, and he doesn't remember any of his scenes because he was filming something else at the same time, which is way more important and won an Oscar. Yeah, great movie. Boiler Room.
So it's kind of stacked like Buckaroo Banzai across the eighth dimension.
I'll take your word for that one. Go watch it. It's on Plex.
We are thrilled to announce that Sync 365 is officially the newest All Things MSP vendor partner. If you're an MSP, you know the pain of manual billing. It's time to stop losing money on unbilled licenses and get out of Excel hell. Sync 365 automates your Microsoft 365, Azure, and third-party license billing directly into your PSA. It connects seamlessly with ConnectWise, Autotask, and Halo PSA to ensure your invoices are accurate every single month. Stop leaking revenue, start syncing it. Check them out today at sync365license.com. That's sync365license.com. Level up your email domain security and deliverability. Reduce business email compromise and reel in that pesky email phishing. Make DMARC a new revenue stream for your MSP. Becoming a managed service provider partner with EasyDMARC is a great opportunity for your business to boost sales and decrease risk. Your customers need DMARC. Your job is to let them know that their email domain might be at risk. Find out more today at atmsp.link/EasyDMARC. That's atmsp.link/EasyDMARC.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the All Things MSP podcast. I'm your host, Justin Esgar, and with me always, the man who has a beard that peaked during the Farmville era, Mr. Eric Anthony.
Where'd that one come from?
Meta's in the news, so I was like, hey, robot, make me a meta joke.
Gotcha.
Farmville.
You kind of look like Farmer whatever, you know.
It's a good callback. I played Farmville. Michelle blocked me on Facebook when we were dating because every other day I was like, send me pigs, send me corn, send me hay for my cows. And then I got into Mafia Wars and I was like, I need 19 pistols. She's like, can you stop, please? What's going on, man? It's been a week for sure. I just got back from Channel Pro Orlando. You had work?
Well, I was at Rite of Boom and then came back.
Yeah.
It's been busy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like the whole kind of industry is kind of gaining some momentum here.
We're kicking off. I'm already prepping for the next Channel Pro, which is in Columbus, Ohio, in like from the day we're recording this, less than a month. So I have to like get all that prepped and ready to go. You know, it's funny going to these events because you and I meet a lot of MSPs, and I have to admit, I think the number one The number, I get I would say two questions always, same two questions, right? Because people think that like I have some grandiose business plan or whatever it is. But the two questions I always get are like, how do you get more customers? Which we've already covered a million times. And the other one is like, how do you make more money without necessarily getting more customers?
Right.
And so we haven't really covered that second one. I want to talk a little bit about that today. So buckle in, everyone, because this is what we're doing.
Yeah, and I think
whether you like it or not,
this is good because, you know, it's coming off the last two episodes where we talked about profit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you can only increase your profit on, you know, a set amount of revenue so much
right?
to make more money. At some point, in order to make more money, you have to increase revenue. And so I think this is the next logical step to talking about, you know, your MSP not being broke.
Yeah, because like ideally you already have your like yearly 3 to 5% cost of living on your labor. But if you really want to get up there, like those companies that are doing $5-10 million are not doing $5-10 million in just straight labor. They're that is top line revenue. And that is a mix of labor and like all of these services that they're selling. And these are where those opportunities are, because I find that a lot of smaller MSPs, in my head, they go one of two ways. They want to just sell everything and like, but they just go too crazy with it, or they don't sell anything and they don't understand why they're not making any money. Right. And both are bad. Both of those are bad.
So you said something that I want to double click into for just a second, and it does pertain to increasing revenue, but that is your annual price increases.
Sure.
Look, if you're not doing annual price increases, this is one of those things that I think you can absolutely say if you're not doing it, you are doing things wrong. If you're not doing annual price increases, you are doing something wrong. I looked it up before we started the episode, and the average cost of living increase for the last 10 years is 3 to 4%. So if you're not doing at least 4 or 5% standard price increases, you are losing money every single year.
Right. That's 100% true. It needs to be worked right into your contract and just make that a standard thing. Yeah, that cost of living should be baked right in, and it should be part of your standard MSA. And if you don't have that baked in, call Brad Gross. I don't know. We talk about him a lot.
All the free advertising Brad gets on this show.
Honestly, if you call him, if you don't know who he is, he's the MSP lawyer. If you call him and tell him that you heard his name on our show, he will charge you double. Kind of how it is.
Because we don't get the money.
No. He's keeping it. Anyway, okay. So cost of living aside, let's talk about, there are literally hundreds of thousands of things that you can add to your list of services to make money. And some of them are pretty basic. You know, like it makes sense to be selling Microsoft 365 licenses or Google licenses if you can through SureWeb, or if you can become a reseller. Makes sense, right? It gets you into their platform. If I don't know what that face was for. Luckily, this is audio. No one else saw that.
I'll tell you in a minute.
Unless you go to youtube.com/All Things MSP, and it looks like Eric just barfed in his mouth. My point, though, is that like those are sticky points, right? Those are things where you make $1 or $2 per license. It gives you the ability to like admin their stuff without needing a license. Things like that. That's low hanging fruit. And even email security, adding on products like Proofpoint or with Avanan or AppRiver or something like that for like email spam, table stakes. But there's a lot more you can get into that can make money in bulk and not require a lot of your time, which is kind of the important part here, in doing things. Years ago, my good friend Will O'Neill did a presentation at ACES, and he made like he had this, I wish I could find his presentation. He had a list of everything that was in there. And one of the ones, and this has always stuck with me, and I will be the first to admit we've never sold this, but one that's always stuck with me is like SSL certificates and DNS management, right? Manage their DNS for $10 a month. What does that even mean? It means just like have access to their GoDaddy account or Cloudflare account, right? And make sure that the DNS doesn't change. Or if you already have a tool that's monitoring DNS changes, like something like a LionGuard, have it set up to automatically check and alert you as soon as someone republishes the website on Squarespace and like undoes the entire MX record. Been there, done that.
Right.
That's a simple $10 a month that someone will pay because it's a low cost piece. And if you have, let's say, 100 customers at that, that's $1,000 a month. And like you're doing literally diddly squat.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. I want to caveat that with, though.
Always with the negative. It's the beard. You were way more positive before you grew this monstrosity.
The beard made me more negative? Is that?
Yeah.
Did it make me grumpy old man? Is that what it did?
I think it did. Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's not Christmas time and you don't have a job.
There you go. Okay. There are a couple ways to look at this. Number one, you can look at it as found money, right? And I think that's kind of the avenue that you're coming at with, at this with.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of these things, they do actually take time and labor to manage. And so you got to figure out how to put your labor in there for that. It's not just putting, Microsoft Office in there at, whatever percentage Microsoft is not giving these days.
I'm pretty sure it's -12.
Something like that. Yeah. By the time you actually have to pay their bill, you're negative into the labor. But you've got to make sure that when you add these things, you're not reducing that profit margin that we talked about in the last show.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, I think there's an opportunity here. What I always tell people, especially about Microsoft 365 licenses, is you're not just selling them a Microsoft 365 license. You are selling them a managed Microsoft 365 license.
Right.
So there is extra money that you need to build into that as part of it.
Another line item literally saying management of email.
That, I'll leave up to the individual. My personal preference is that you build it into a managed Microsoft license, P1, P2, whatever SKU.
Sure.
And just, when they ask about it, you go, well, that's a managed license. That means we're taking care of the relationship with Microsoft for you.
So your point being that like whatever it is, an O365 E3 is now they call it business premium or business basic, right? A business premium account from Microsoft 365, because screw you, marketing department, is I think $15, right? MSRP. I think it's 12 on the back end. So what you're saying is you should be selling it for 20 because it's a managed account. And when the customer goes, well, Microsoft's only charging 15. Your answer is right, but they're not taking care of it for you. We are.
Right.
Makes sense. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally on board with that.
Relatively easy to understand.
Yeah, totally makes sense. I think for the DNS one, as an example, there is a difference between monitoring and management. So like you can put DNS monitoring for $10 a month and DNS management for $100 a month. Why not? First off, there's no rules. Like that's right. The problem here, right?
Exactly.
Like you're giving me a look. And if you, again, youtube.com/@allthingsmsp to watch how Eric is hating on me when this was his topic. So like, this is the Wild West. That's the problem with part of our industry is that like literally you can talk to 4 or 5 different individuals. They all sell the same ish and they're all going to give you different pricing because there's no guideline. So my point here is there are things that we can go through. We can make a list of things that you're not selling that you should be selling. So DNS monitoring, DNS management are 2 separate items. Sell that. Security. I mean, we can go the live long day on what is covered in security, right? You can sell a SOC, you can sell SIEM, you can sell MDR, EDR, XDR, IDR, VCR, whatever.
Beta, VHS.
Side note, this is going to shock everyone who's listening. My wife works for Fortune 500. I think I've mentioned where, but I don't want to say again. She told me she was in a meeting with the DVD team, and I was like, DVD? Who buys DVDs anymore? And apparently, just in the United States, the DVD team, which apparently also includes Blu-ray, I didn't know this, did $15 million last year. And I was like, why? How? What? All right, back on track though.
Okay, so here's the thing, and to your point, all of these things are different, right? Because my answer for Microsoft 365 is different than DNS.
Sure.
DNS has the added bonus that you can drive value to that sale through the monitoring because the risk is so high.
Oh yeah.
If something goes wrong with DNS, because it can break literally the most important communication line that you have in your business, and that's email.
Mm-hmm.
And one of your most important marketing platforms, and that is your website. So even though there's not a lot to managing DNS, there's huge value because of the risk if something goes wrong.
I can't tell you how many times a client has had an internal person work on a new website. We're launching a new website. It's going to be great. And they do it in a Squarespace or they do it in a Wix. And when you go to activate it, Squarespace or Wix just rules with an iron fist and completely changes all of the DNS entries under the domain. And I wasn't kidding earlier. Like, this literally happened to me years ago. I remember I remember this very vividly because for whatever reason, I wasn't working at home. I think I didn't have any power in my house and I was working at a friend's house, and it was late. I got a phone call from one of my clients being like, no one's email's working. And so I went down the normal path of things because I was like, okay, 9 times out of 10, it's they didn't renew their domain, right? So I was like, let me log into their domain. And then I was like, let me just make sure email, obviously Google was working or Microsoft was working, whatever. And then I got an alert about 30 seconds later from LionGuard being like, DNS change for client. And I was like, excuse me? And it was because I was like, what are you guys doing? And they were like, what do you mean? We're not doing anything. And I was like, did anyone change anything with DNS? And of course, my customer doesn't know what DNS is. I was like, did anyone change anything with the website? And they were like, oh yeah, we launched our new website today. And I was like, okay, that's it. Put me on the phone with that person right now. And also, you're going to fire them tomorrow. And it was because they just like switched sites within their same account in Squarespace. But Squarespace just went, you know what? Screw your DNS, double finger up English FU, and like ate the email away. So we just had to put the MX record back and everything was fine. But to your point, like they were hard down for all intents and purposes for 15 minutes, luckily, because we were able to fix it. But they were basically hard down. And because like one system was like, you know what, whatever. Like the value prop is there for them 100% to have somebody pay for DNS monitoring and DNS management. So yeah, definitely do those. Email security, regular security. Somebody once said that, it was Will was talking about this, selling SSL certificates. I've never sold an SSL certificate to a customer before. I don't know if you have. I understand why, right? Like you can add an SSL certificate to their email to make sure that it's verified and valid, or an SSL
for their website, it's required now.
Right, but Let's Encrypt is around and it's free.
Today, yes, I understand that it's not the thing it used to be.
Okay, fine, fair.
We got to remember, I sold my MSP in 2013, and a lot of what we did was website hosting and design in addition to the managed services. And so, yeah, we were reselling SSL certificates all the time.
What about, you mentioned website hosting. I think there's good money in website hosting. I understand people want their websites to load very, very fast and they want them all the time. But like, I do this all the time for my clients who, first off, I use DreamHost. I'll be honest. I use DreamHost. I have a virtual private server with DreamHost. I have a couple of clients who have critical websites. Loads totally fine, even without a CDN or anything special involved. No one's doing, and they have a web guy, they have a web girl, whatever. I'm just hosting the website. I'm making an extra like $15-20 a month, which is just cutting away at my bill to DreamHost, which is great.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a perfect thing just for people to sell.
I think it is too. I think a lot of that got undercut by just commodity pricing in the market.
Sure.
But again, you get what you pay for. And if you're going with somebody that you can't get a hold of and your website goes down, and say your email is through that same thing and your DNS records are through that same provider,
Yeah.
and they go down, you've got a problem. With you, and any other MSP, you're an expert in this. You are managing that hosting, not just reselling something else.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, within that management, like, obviously, if you're going to host someone's website, you need to have a good relationship with your host to make sure that they will respond and know before you can go and offer that. But I think that's a big one. I'm sure most MSPs are doing some variant of network management and charging for that, or VoIP management. I had a client one time who they were on a VoIP system from their ISP, and their phones in their office, and they were paying like Keelan, this is probably going back, this is pre-COVID, so whatever. They were paying like $2,000 a month for these phones.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm going to cut your bill significantly, but you're going to pay me to manage, quote unquote, the phones. And they were like, okay, how much are you going to cut the bill by? And I got their phone bill down to like $300 a month. And I was like, I'm going to slap an extra $300, $400 in phone management. So even at $700, I'm now a third of what you were paying. And they were glad to pay me for my phone management because I got them way, way down,
So, we've basically been talking about things that MSPs can add on to existing clients to, raise revenue. Now, I did get a statistic while I was researching this topic, and the research that I found says that most MSPs have a 20 to 40% upsell opportunity with their existing client base.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about here. Yeah.
And I think the question you have to ask yourself as an MSP is, what does an extra 20 to 40% of revenue, my top line number, look like? I mean, if you're at $1 million, that's 1.2. Or if you're at 2, it's 2.4.
Yeah.
And that's just with the low 20% number. Right? If you're closer to the 40% number, yeah, you're right. It's 1.4 or 2.8. And that's a big, big difference.
Especially when you're not adding any more customers. You might be adding new tools and learning new stack stuff, but at least you're not having to worry about management of a new customer and the way they work or the management of their personalities, which is always harder than selling a new thing to an existing customer who already trusts you.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would if you were going to recommend 2 new services to an MSP to add to their stack to present to their clients to make this additional revenue, what would it be?
I would probably, if I wanted like a non-low hanging fruit one is definitely like cyber insurance readiness, security in that regard, right? Because in this day and age, every customer, even if they're a 2-person design shop, should have cyber insurance. Mm-hmm. And they have not read that policy. And it's for you to read that policy, invoke all the things that are needed to make sure that they can get paid out on their cyber insurance, because that's why no one reads the policy, something breaks, and cyber insurance goes, well, you didn't have this thing on. You do that. But also, you're in charge of their cyber insurance, which means every quarter to 6 months, you make sure that nothing has changed, because insurance companies love to make changes without telling anyone. You invoke those changes, and also you ensure that anything that you had already set up stays working. Because it's really easy to say, like, we're going to enforce MFA on everything, and then a customer go and find some new tool, not tell you about it, and then not have the MFA on. And guess what? Insurance company's not going to pay out, because even if it's not related to the hit, they're not going to pay out because they found something that doesn't have MFA on. So I'd say cyber insurance readiness is one for sure. I don't know. I really like the DNS and the domain management one, because I think that is my low hanging fruit one, because it's easy to manage it in Cloudflare, right? Mm-hmm. Their low plan is $20 to get you a nice set of security and some like web application firewall rules and some cool things that you can do. You can manage the whole thing top down for them from there. And keeping the DNS separate from the registrant or the web host keeps that situation like I had earlier with my customer from happening for 99.98% of the time. So watching for DNS changes, DNS filtering, DDoS protection, and you know what's a big one? Also, I mentioned this, is domain expiration notification.
Yep.
Because so many times customers get in the mail that scammy BS ICANN email for like letter for like $200. And I always just say, like, if you get any email or any mail about your domain, I usually have to just blanket and say ignore it. But the problem is I'm also telling them to ignore the one that says, hey, your domain's going to not renew because your credit card's out of date.
Yeah. So
you can set up a rule that opens a ticket for you to remind them to go in and have them change your credit card, and you can charge them for that.
Funny enough, I had this was in the last 2 years, probably, a former client of mine call me and say, hey, my website's down and I have no idea what's wrong. They haven't been my client since 2013. Right. Yeah. Well, it turns out when we originally, signed up for their domain, they bought a 10-year, because you could renew them for 10 years back then.
Yep.
Well, nobody was tracking it because it's been 10 years. And it expired. And so, got it fixed relatively quickly. But, those things still happen. And I think that rule is only like where you can't renew it for that long is only been around for, I don't know.
I think GoDaddy, I mean, I do everything with GoDaddy, and I look forward to your tweets and emails. But 5 years is a GoDaddy max. Yeah. I don't know what Namecheap does.
So my two, if I had to pick two, is I will take your cybersecurity compliance and raise it to compliance for everything, right? Compliance as a service.
Yep.
I think insurance is probably a great one. And I think every customer probably needs that. So I think that's where you start. But you also have HIPAA, FTC, FINRA, CMMC, all the other, alphabet soup, acronyms that a lot of your clients need help with, right? And then I know you're going to balk at this one, but AI, because you've got
I'm leaving. I'm leaving the show.
You've got to manage how your clients are using AI.
No, I do agree with that.
You've got to do it intentionally.
I've said this before, like we teamed up with our cybersecurity partner and we sent this out and we said, listen, everybody needs a policy. Let's get an acceptable use. Let's get corporate policy. And we have our cybersecurity partner write it for that customer. This way they have something. That's a good base to start with to manage AI. Don't let the AI talk to the AI. Look, there's probably a thousand things more. Like if I just wanted to like list off a whole bunch, right? You have impersonation, business email continuity, DMARC. DMARC's a big one also recently, right? DMARC monitoring, dark web monitoring, phishing training, inventory. How many times does a client they have so many products that they're paying subscriptions for, right? You can use tools to do SaaS inventory, shadow IT discovery, which is a big one. What else is there? Let's see. There's phishing, cyber insurance. Oh, lifecycle management is another one, or asset planning, right? Things that people really believe normally are in the QBR. But the fact of the matter is you can be charging for this kind of stuff on the regular. As long as you're maintaining it and doing what you say you're going to do, that's fine.
That's the key.
That is the key. But like you can take a $1,000 a month client and turn them into a $3,000 a month client by stacking on all of these things. And you would also increase your profitability on them, I'm sure.
Yeah. And there are things that they need. There are things that will help them be more productive and in a lot of these cases, reduce their risk dramatically.
Yeah. So go squeeze blood from a stone and let us know how you're doing it. If you do sell anything else other than anything that we've mentioned, or you have ideas to share with the group, do that at facebook.com/groups/allthingsmsp. Watch Eric just make fun of me with his eyes at youtube.com/@allthingsmsp. Follow, like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things. Send Eric a beard comb.
I straightened it today.
I did too. Yeah, that's it. That's Eric. I'm Justin. Bye.
Thank you for listening or watching the All Things MSP podcast. If you liked this episode, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, hit that like button, and consider subscribing to catch all our weekly episodes. And from your host extraordinaire, Justin Esgar, and myself, Eric Anthony, your humble producer and All Things MSP founder, thank you very much for spending your time with us. If you are not aware, All Things MSP started as a Facebook group and now supports over 6,000 members. We also have a LinkedIn page for those of you who don't do Facebook, and make sure to check out our YouTube channel for even more content. And a big thank you to our premier sponsors, EasyDmark, Helped, GoZinta, MoveBot, and Nodeware. And thank you to the rest of our sponsors. Without sponsors, we could not do what we do for the MSP community. Please consider checking them out. The All Things MSP podcast is a BizPow LLC production. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not reflect the thoughts and opinions of any employer, vendor, sponsor, or random taxi driver in the Metro DC area. Be sure to join us next week for another exciting episode.